Welcome to the second episode of the Clutch Takes podcast. I'm here with Evan.
Here.
And it's a rainy day today, and we're going to be talking about NHL and NBA as usual. And the first topic we're going to be talking about is Puljijarvi signing a one-year deal in the Finnish league. Now, this means he can still be traded by the Edmonton Oilers, but he has to be traded before December 1st.
Well, I feel like nobody wants to be in Edmonton right now except for Mcdavid. Actually, not a lot of people know if Mcdavid wants to be there anyways because it's like a shit show. But I don't know. I think Puljijarvi just wants to go back to the Finnish league just to prove his worth back where it's like an easier competition than NHL and get his confidence back up and come back.
I think that he's trying to use it as like leverage because he desperately wanted out of Edmonton that much that he had to sign with the Finnish league. As he said, like, I'm either playing for another team or I'm playing somewhere else, and he's stuck on his word with that. And yeah, Edmonton is in shambles right now because we don't even know Mcdavid's health with his big knee injury. Remember when he slams into the pole?
Yeah.
Like, we don't know if Mcdavid will, obviously he has the talent, but we don't know how long it will take before he bounces back.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have a decent decor with Clefbaum, Nurse, Larson, and Evan Bouchard, who is playing well in the juniors. But I feel like their forwards is basically McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nugent Hopkins, and that's all she wrote because no one else is producing as the GM or whoever it was called out. Like, who was that player that scored 10 goals?
Oh, Toby Reeder.
Yeah, Toby Reeder didn't score 10 goals.
Yeah, that's pathetic.
And their goaltending situation is not looking good. Like, Koskinen had an up and down year.
Classic Shirley, giving him a 3-year deal.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's a starter. And he's almost 30 now.
And they also have Mike Smith as the backup, and he had a below 900 save percentage. I mean, he had a decent playoffs, even though, if it wasn't for him, they would get swept by the Avalanche. But, I mean, it's a past prime goalie and an unproven goalie as your tandem with, an offense that can't really score. And, I don't know, it's just, I would be shocked if Edmonton came out of the gates flying. I'm rooting for them, but I just don't see it.
The next topic is Domi talks about Habs fans are on another level than Leaf fans.
I think, you can take it in different contexts. I mean, inside the arena, the Leafs, even though they're one of the biggest markets, they are the biggest market. They're the mecca of the NHL. Inside the arena, it's full of suits because the tickets are so damn expensive. So the real fans are left outside in Maple Leaf Square / Jurassic Park when the times change. And I don't know. I feel like Domi's just trying to take a shot because, his dad, Ty Domi, played for the Leafs, and he's just trying to stir the pot and make the rivalry.
Yeah, that's true. As well as I feel like with the Raptors winning the championship and people talking about how Toronto has a big fan base for sports, I think Domi is trying to get everyone to remember how much Montreal likes hockey, and the people are just forgetting about it because Toronto is the center of attention in Canada right now.
Yeah, I honestly miss the Leafs-Habs rivalry, so I kind of don't mind this from a hockey perspective, as I kind of want tension between the Leafs and Habs to happen again, as it's been kind of, when the Leafs are bad, the Habs always beat them. Now the Leafs have been good, so the Leafs have always beat them. It's been totally one-sided, and we've seen it started a bit last year as they got into it. Kapanen and Janssen got into some fights with Domi, and they're chirping back and forth. So I kind of like that the rivalry's starting up again.
But I mean, yeah, I feel like in the future, in maybe 2 years or so, Montreal has a good prospect pool, and obviously Carey Price, that Montreal and Toronto will be both good teams at that time, and we'll see the rivalry back again.
You hear what the Habs owner also said?
What?
He said that he's excited for the next 3 to 8 years. So he envisions this team like taking the next step and being good for a long period of time.
Also, it's a long time away, but like Aho kind of said that he wants to be in Montreal, so maybe in 5 years they'll be getting a first line center in Aho. But
Yeah.
that's just dreaming for them.
Yeah. In 5 years, like Matthews' contract, uh, Burke also said that he thinks that he's going to leave. Like after the 5 years, he's a goner.
Brian Burke just is salty that he got fired. So
I mean, he said Marner is gonna stay like long term. He thinks, but he's like, no one told me this. So like, I don't know why he's. I mean, like he was in the league, but he has no sources, so it's not really credible. And
yeah,
he's been wrong on a lot of things before.
it's all subjective. So
Yeah. Um, McDavid thinks that one RFA needs to fall for all the rest of them to fall. As the RFAs, it's getting closer to September, and none of them have signed. And I honestly agree with this, as once the season starts, like once training camp starts, that's when the players will get antsy and when hockey's in the air and everyone wants to be on their team. So either that's Braden Point, who has stated he wants to stay in Tampa, or Rantanen with the Avalanche having all the cap space in the world, or a team like Winnipeg who lost a lot of players but has their cap in order to sign either Connor or Laine. I feel like one of those dominoes will fall, and then most of the rest will sign after.
yeah, excluding Marner. Yeah, and we were gonna talk about the Devils. If they're out of the playoff race, do they trade Taylor Hall in the trade deadline?
Yeah, I think the Devils are in a tough situation. Their GM, Ray Shero, has done a really great job of making this last year for Taylor Hall a better team than last year, as he's added Nikita Gusev, Simmons, Subban. We've talked about this in the past, and I feel like they're not really on the hot seat to keep Taylor Hall. And if the Devils are out of contention or out of reach, they're going to have to make a decision if they trade Taylor Hall or if they continue to go for it. As if they miss out on the playoffs, it's going to be a tough time for the Devils losing Taylor Hall for nothing. So they need to make a big decision here.
Yeah, I mean, they can get a lot from Taylor Hall back, but I don't know. I feel like they're gonna be kind of like, if they do follow the playoff race, I have a feeling they're gonna be kind of like the Columbus Blue Jackets. They're gonna be
Double down.
double down, and I feel like, I don't know if they're gonna lose him, but I mean, I feel like they would rather like keep him than trade him. So they're gonna get as much assets to make playoffs.
Taylor Hall has clearly stated he's done missing out on the playoffs. He wants to make the playoffs. So if the Devils don't do that for him, I can see him easily leaving.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I feel like Devils, like, instead of like scared of losing him, I feel like they would, since they already have like so many young players, that I feel like they can, like, if they had one more piece, they would definitely make the playoffs. So I feel like they would double down.
So you think that if they're like a bubble team near the playoffs, which they're kind of expected to be right now, that instead of thinking, oh, we might fall out of it, let's trade Taylor Hall now and get assets for him, you think we're close enough and we just need a few more pieces and they'll go use some of their prospect capital and like go for it?
I feel like the only way they're trading Taylor Hall is if they're like
Blown away?
Like, there's no chance.
Lastly, for the NHL, we're going to be talking about how Binnington was ranked in the top 10 after only playing some odd 30 games plus a playoff run. And he won a Stanley Cup, but this might be a little too jumping the gun on Binnington, as he was ranked ahead of goalies like Gibson, Anderson, Rene, Murray, goalies that have been established in the league.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of ridiculous because, I mean, players and goalies have hot streaks all the time. This could be just one long, like, hot streak. Like, people, when Murray won the first cup and he was in the same situation as Binnington, no one was saying that was like, oh, he's the top 10, this, that. But I feel like, I don't know, it's just kind of like, people are just jumping on the bandwagon. Like, Gibson has been playing for years, and he's been proven that he's a really good goalie. Anderson is, like, Leafs MVP. And also, Rene, I mean, I know he's older, but, like, still, he's been, like, around the league. Murray's won 2 cups, so I don't know. I understand why people are just, like, jumping the gun.
Yeah, Binnington, I feel like we need to see another season out of him, as with Jake Allen fully falling out of the picture. We get to see like Binnington have a full 60-game starter season and see what he's made of. And it's kind of like the Blues now. Now that they've won a cup, there's higher expectations for the team to do well, and we'll see how Binnington does when every team reacts like they've done their scouting reports. He's not a new goalie anymore, and we'll see if some things can be exploited.
He also doesn't get a lot of shots against him in the net. Like, his defense when he was playing was really good. Like, Parenko, Peter Angelo, Bouwmeester, like, their defensive like strategy kept a lot of shots away from him.
Yeah. I just think that Binnington, I feel like he definitely has a chance to be one of the rising goalies. But I mean, he came out of nowhere, and like Murray was like more of a big prospect, was he not?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Like Binnington was kind of like he was an Owen Sound goalie, and like he was like an afterthought, and almost was like out of the league to win the cup. It almost like how we've said like the fairy tale stories. This Binnington breaking out is just another fairy tale story of the Blues run in the NHL. I mean, I know you got something to say about that.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about it right now, though. I guess, yeah, enough about Binnington, because we just got to see more. That's, like, the gist of it. But in the NBA, we heard that cousin was threatened ex over son not going to the wedding. Like, he threatened to kill her, so, I mean...
Yeah, this is another, and the Lakers are investigating this. Like, I mean, how much worse? Like, we made a video, the fall of Boogie Cousins, and this isn't just another thing added to it. Like, Cousins, like, this is just tough for him. Like, another thing, like, they're investigating it. Like, what if he gets, like, a lawsuit against him? I mean, like, this could be pretty bad for him. What would you say?
Yeah, and also... with the Lakers, the drama never stops. So, I mean, I don't know if it's true or not. Like, but I mean, I guess when you're with the Lakers, nothing gets around. So,
and Dwight Howard just officially became a Laker, and now he's taking his spot. And Shaq also made a comment saying that like who, like he took a shot at Dwight Howard saying like who they signed who. And, like, Howard is just trying to establish himself in the league after he had his mysterious butt injury.
Yeah.
Mysterious quotation marks. And speaking of Shaq, Carter said that when he was on the Raptors, he almost recruited, and he felt like he was close to bringing Shaq to the Raptors. And I kind of like every time when these stories come out, when it's, like, stories from the past of things that almost happened and they couldn't say at the time because of how close it was, and then you hear the stuff behind the scenes. I just like really like that. I don't think it ever would have came to fruition because of Toronto's rep, but like having Carter and Shaq on the team would have been pretty special.
It also shows that even back in the day, players were trying to recruit and like, doing this kind of stuff like
even before social media.
Yeah, even before social media. Like, players, I feel like NBA players have it in their head that they need to win rings. Like, really, like, that's, like, the main goal. But, like, that's, like, what they care about the most.
Yeah, I think that Shaq probably just, like, maybe he was close with Carter. Maybe that's why he somewhat gave it consideration. But I think actually, on, like, basketball terms, I couldn't see, like, Shaq going to the Raptors for his legacy. Could you?
No.
Like, he was always on, like, he was on the Magic and then, like, Lakers and even the Celtics. Like, and also the Heat. So like Shaq has always been kind of like on big market teams and being the star, and especially with Toronto not being on the map back then, um, it still will never be as big as an American team. I think Shaq definitely wanted more than to play for the Raptors. What would you say if Shaq? How good do you think the Raptors could have been if Shaq was actually on the team?
Well, I mean, Shaq was one of the like probably top three best players in the league back then. And Vince Carter was one of the best players in that league as well. I feel like it would have worked out, but I mean, like you
Imagine if like nothing bad happened over in like Tracy McGrady doesn't leave, Vince Carter doesn't leave, and like the timelines meet up of like Shaq goes to free agency and they form a big three of McGrady, Carter, and Shaq. Does that team not win a championship?
Well, I mean, like we wouldn't see the Showtime Lakers, and it would be the Showtime Raptors. So
That'd be awesome. Kobe also said about Shaq that if Shaq had his work ethic, that Shaq would be the best player in the league. Like,
yeah,
it wouldn't even be close.
yeah.
And they said they would win 12 rings.
Yeah, I could. Well, I mean, not 12, but I mean, like I could see that.
And like Kobe was saying, like, I tell his fat ass all the time, if he was in shape, then we would have won more championships.
Yeah.
How good do you think? Because like Shaq and Kobe obviously had a feud, but they still ended up winning championships together. How much more championships? Because I mean, there was still a lot of good teams in the league. Like how much better do you think that duo could have been?
Well, I feel like they could have won at least like 3 or 4 more, for sure. And like that Lakers team would have been like, they would have been talks about if they're better than the Bulls, with Michael Jordan. But I mean, things happen. I guess they had to like split apart. But yeah, it's all speculation.
Yeah, and Kobe also said that he was talking smack to Shaq even when he was a rookie, like 18 years old.
Yeah.
He said that they were playing a game against the Suns, and Shaq was just like kind of dominating, getting the points in the paint, and then Kobe was just being like, pass the ball, and then like Shaq was saying like he wanted some of the shots, so he was telling Kobe to pass the ball, and then Kobe said to him, just get the rebound if I miss it. So he's even that cocky, like Mamba mentality back then.
Yeah.
He came in as a rookie.
Yeah.
Like I don't think you see that anymore. Most rookies now are, they think they're good, but I don't think they would be talking to someone older than them like that.
Yeah, that's true. Levert signs an extension, and the Nets championship window becomes even better and longer.
Yeah, so there's core players under contract until 2021, and that includes like Levert, Dinwiddie, Kyrie, KD, DeAndre Jordan. So with this team, we have to take it with a grain of salt this year, as they'll still be good. But KD obviously makes them the championship contender.
Yeah.
So how, like when KD comes back from his Achilles injury that has taken a lot of players out of the league, how good do they become?
I think they're the best team in the league, actually, when you think about it, because, well, if KD comes back normal, obviously. But, I mean,
how will this?
well, Lakers window is really, like, only, like, 1 or 2 years, because LeBron's getting older. And also, like, the Clippers, they've only signed for, like, 3 years?
Yeah, 3 years.
Yeah, so, I mean, and also, like, Paul George always gets hurt.
Paul George and Kawhi have the same opt-out year.
Yeah.
So in, like, 3 years, like, people are saying, like, LeBron will be gone, and then they just join the Lakers, and they're both back home in the Lakers. Imagine that.
Yeah, that would just be, like, stupid.
That would just be, like, snaky. Like, I don't know, like, especially, like, like, now, if they're just, like, bouncing around, just trying to win championships, like, what happened to, like, people building their own legacy, in like a way of just like one team to be remembered.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. If they're like scheming these things behind the scenes, I think they should just, you should focus on your team, try to stay there. If you have the team to win, then just stay on the team. Like, stop,
That's not going to happen anymore.
And anyway, back to the Nets. The Nets, I feel like with KD have like a chance to be like a really good team because the 76ers are their team to compete with, of like a team with like the future set.
Mm-hmm.
And like the Bucks, like they have Antetokounmpo, but he also might leave. You never know. So like the 76ers, like Simmons is signed. I'm pretty sure Embiid will sign. And those two are like the young players that could possibly take them out if everything goes well. But what would you say, like Kevin Durant, like a healthy Kevin Durant, or like say he doesn't come back the same, but he's still good? What's like the Nets? What would you say is the Nets' floor, and what would you say is their ceiling?
Yeah, I feel like their floor would be like a second round exit, or like maybe conference finals sometimes. Their ceiling is definitely like maybe like a dynasty with Kyrie and Kevin Durant. Like I could say like two rings, 3 finals appearances for their ceiling.
And with like we talked about like Levert, like how he might feel left out and he might go to a different team, but obviously that didn't happen, and he's back on the Nets. So do you think there could be an issue with like the ball moving around, or is this now like for scoring options wise, maybe they move Dinwiddie in the future and they just keep like Levert, Kyrie, KD, big three?
Yeah, I'd like Kyrie, Levert, KD, and DeAndre Jordan as their like, and then they keep Harris as their another shooter.
I mean, like they can always like change around the spare pieces, but like as their like big three of like, how good do you think like Levert becomes to make that a big three?
I feel like he can become like a good scorer, and
He had a really good playoffs.
Comparing him to like Clay, I just don't think he's as good defensively. So I feel like he'd be like kind of like Clay without the defense, but not obviously not a good shooter, but like he can score when he wants to. So he'd be a good third option.
Well, I mean, like Levert on the Nets this like past season when the whole team was healthy and D'Angelo Russell was there. Before Levert got hurt, people were calling him their best player on the team.
Yeah.
And like D'Angelo Russell ended up being an all-star. So if D'Angelo Russell was an all-star and Levert was like the best player on the team, like that shows like Levert has the potential to obviously like maybe be a better player than Russell, and definitely at least be an all-star.
Yeah. I don't know, and I feel like Dinwiddie, like I think he has to be moved because I think he's just too good to be a bench. He's just too good to be benched, and I feel like he can be a starter. He almost averages like 18 to 20 points per game like the past 2 years, and he's a good playmaker. He's tall, long, and he's young. So I mean, I don't know. Like I feel like a team would want him.
He's being a bench player.
Yeah.
Like, what is he going to be, another Lou Will? Like, a player that's too good for the bench? That's just coming off the bench?
I feel like that would be, like, trapping his potential.
Well, he's lost his potential to start because Kyrie's there, and he's not going to take Kyrie's spot.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'd rather just trade him for pieces, like the only problem I would say, like, they need to get bigger and they need more defense. So, like Dinwiddie for someone kind of like Ibaka for like a power forward, but something like that.
Or they could, get a defensive-minded player. Like, I'm not sure. I don't think the Celtics would be a good fit for trade, but like a player like Marcus Smart or something like that, that's like defensive-minded.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, people, Rozier thinks he's good, but we all know he's not that good, and he's like starting on the Hornets, and he's trying to prove everyone wrong, right? The only people who actually thought he was good was Celtics fans because they're delusional. But I feel like
Scary Terry.
if Rozier is like a starter on a team, why can't Dinwiddie? Dinwiddie's like much better than Rozier.
Yeah, well, maybe if like Rozier, like maybe like Charlotte would be a team that takes on Dinwiddie for support, and or has like some people have like a 2 guard. Maybe like if he can't be a starting point guard, teams have adapted like the 2 point guard backcourt when they have like 2 ball handlers. Like maybe Dinwiddie can also be like a part of that, as like the Raptors can be an example, as they might experiment Van Vliet, who's a point guard, and Lowry both being in the backcourt together, as that's their closing lineup. But it's kind of like a combo guard, point guard and shooting guard. And lastly, NBA, a topic that I just remembered was Drummond recently talking about he's like gonna be a free agent, and he's excited about it, as the 2020 free agent class is pretty slim compared to this past year with all the madness happening, as 2021 is the big year for NBA free agents with like Antetokounmpo and everyone. So with Drummond hitting the market, what team, because Drummond is like arguably the best rebounder in the league, what team would you say would be interested in Drummond, or do you think he's going to get overpaid, or what do you think happens with Drummond next summer?
I feel like the Pistons, if they don't, I feel like Drummond, his main problem is that he's good defensively, right? I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, people sometimes question his work ethic, but he definitely gets a lot of rebounds.
Yeah, so he's a good rebounder, and he doesn't score a lot. So, I mean, Blake Griffin needs a second option on that team, and I feel like Drummond, I feel like I would rather trade him than overpay for more rebounds, because if it doesn't work, if they don't get past like the first or second round next year, I'd rather save that money for someone who can be a good second option for Blake Griffin rather than overpay for more rebounds.
Well, Drummond and Griffin is not that elite of a duo. Like, they're going to forever be like a 7 or 8 seed team. Like, I just don't think you can't just put all your like money in the front court, or like a center and like a power forward. Like, the way championships have been won has been like good wings. Like, and I think that they need to replace Drummond with a good wing, either if that's a trade or a draft pick to develop their own player. And because the Pistons, to be honest, are just like a middle of the road team. Like, they signed Derrick Rose. Like, yeah. I don't know really what they're doing.
I mean, they're a playoff team, but I don't think they'll be going.
They're a playoff team, but like, how good are they really going to be? Like, everyone expects them. When you think of the Pistons, you think of first-round exit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I don't know.
If you're the Pistons, what do you do right now?
Well, they got Blake Griffin, right? And that basically says that they're going for it. But, like, now it's like...
And they signed Derrick Rose, too, though.
Yeah, so they're trying to say they're going for it.
But they're not good enough right now.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's like, I would just trade him for... if they don't... Which they won't. They won't get past the first or second round. I would trade him at the trade deadline for picks and assets for younger players to build around Blake Griffin, and then save that money rather than just getting a couple extra rebounds. I would save that extra money that someone else will overpay for him for like a really like another star for Blake Griffin to play with in the 2021 free agency.
Wait, here's an idea. We've talked about this in the past. I don't know if this would work or not, but I've said that the Golden State Warriors are a small team and they need size and rebounding, and that's exactly what Drummond brings. And we've said that D'Angelo Russell is a placeholder for Clay, so why not do that as a trade at the deadline? D'Angelo Russell to the Pistons and Drummond to the Warriors.
Yeah, that would make sense actually.
So that means that the Golden State Warriors have like their backcourt back of Curry and Clay, and they still have Draymond, and then they have Drummond getting all the rebounds for them.
Mm-hmm.
I just think like that, and D'Angelo Russell on the Pistons, like that would be like D'Angelo Russell and Griffin, and I feel like he's signed to a long-term deal now. So I feel like, do you think the Pistons have to add more? Maybe they add more.
Yeah.
Because Drummond has 1 year left, and like Russell just got a 4-year extension, so he has like 3 extra years.
Well, they can add in like, I mean, they can make it a huge trade, and then they could trade Drummond and like Kennard and like a couple picks for D'Angelo Russell and Cauley-Stein. So Cauley-Stein will replace as a center, and then they would get their starting point guard and another shooting guard. Their scoring shooting guard would be like Derrick Rose. So that team could like possibility of like doing something in the playoffs, and the Golden State Warriors would get like a good shooter in Kennard, and they would get their rebounding big, who's actually 7 foot in Drummond, and they would get a couple more young pieces to build around on their bench, rebuild their bench.
Well, I think Golden State, like with Drummond on it, would actually be kind of like a perfect fit because Golden State, when they first won their championship without Kevin Durant, their team was still like Curry, Clay, Draymond. They had Harrison Barnes, but then Bogut was also pretty good and setting screens, and they were also a really good defensive team. So maybe they can get like a good defender from the Pistons. I'm not sure like who exactly. And Drummond to like upgrade their defense and rebounding, and you can just see in your head like Curry and Clay coming off screens from a big 7 foot Drummond, and like if they miss their shots, Drummond can kick it out to them, and they'll have more shot opportunities. I think that makes Golden State, their championship window, open for another year, and like you never know Golden State.
Yeah, I agree.
Like how good does Golden State become with Drummond? Like obviously, I think he's a better fit than Russell, even though Russell might average more points than him, just like fit wise.
Well, they need Golden State doesn't need more scoring. They need more defense, and they needed like a big man. And Drummond, he doesn't need to score there. All he has to do is do his job. So it kind of helps both parties. So, I mean, it's a good fit.
Yeah, let us know if you like these trade talks, as they're pretty fun to do. And that'll wrap it up for this podcast. And until next time, we'll see you guys next week for another episode and other main videos in the future. Evan's an idiot, and we'll see you guys later.